Hey there, lovely people. I apologize if you can hear the wind. I am sitting outside on this lovely, a little bit chilly day, but the sun is not shining, but that's okay because you know what? It is a lot warmer than it was just a month ago. Anyway, we are going to be reading chapter 10, which is called Triage Treating the Primal Wound. Now, the Primal Wound is based off The Primal Wound by Nancy Newton Verrier. You guys can go check out the reading already on this channel if you haven't already. If you've been with me for a little bit, over the last few months, you know that we've already done that reading. You can always go back and re-listen as many times as you want. Support the author. She is creating her own audiobook. I don't know if she's going to be doing the reading, but I did see some clips of her working on it. So, really excited for that. She's such a sweet lady. Um, and really just, over the last 30 years, she's really come to support and uplift our voices, which is really amazing because we don't have too many adoptive parents or non-adoptees, I should say, specifically, that do that and recognize all this. So it's really nice to see non-adoptees help us out in that manner. Anyway, we're going to start reading. And if you haven't checked out our our TikTok at this point, because I'm on YouTube and on TikTok, but I do have some other videos out there, shorter, 30 seconds to 3-minute videos. Just, kind of glimpses. I'll dive deeper into those here. We obviously can do way more long form content, obviously, as you've been seeing the hour long videos reading, but there's some good stuff. I'm not being biased. I mean, obviously, but there's definitely some stuff on there that I think would hit home, and being in short content form sometimes is a little bit easier for people to handle, and I completely understand. So if you're on TikTok, go ahead and follow us. We're at Adoptee Healing Resources. I couldn't put the and in there, but I do link my YouTube channel, so either or, it's fine. Anyway, we're gonna start our reading now. The newborn infant who has been surrendered to adoption has just experienced the loss of all of their favorite things. Now is probably a good time to read Appendix E, Loss in the Adoption Handoff, which we will cover in a little bit, but the baby has lost their mother's voice, body sounds and rhythms, smells and touch. The baby has lost the opportunity to gaze into her eyes and to lie on her skin. The newborn child has lost the most precious and sacred relationship in the world, and they know it. As a result, they may react by pushing their new mom away. They may be restless in their arms and may stiffen up when held. This is not unusual behavior and probably has nothing to do with the new mother doing something wrong. It is likely due to the baby being in unfamiliar surroundings. The new parents need to recognize that the newborn has just suffered one of the worst losses in the world and needs to grieve. It is not a time of happiness for the new baby, rather a time for enormous sadness. Myths. Babies don't know babies don't know one mother from another. Babies don't suffer the loss of their first mother. And babies are babies, and all can be treated alike. As we know, these are the myths, but here are the facts. Babies are aware of the loss of their birth mothers. Babies suffer from the loss of their mothers. Babies need special attention and consideration when they have lost their mothers. So yes, all of that is true, and I think a lot of people. So the blank slate theory has been put out there for years, and it's been proven false. A lot of people want a baby because they think that these babies are blank slates and will never have trauma, when that's completely false, right? Our body literally keeps score, which is another great book to read, and we will get to that eventually. But even as a newborn or an infant, you are psychologically connected, beyond genetically, but you're psychologically connected to your birth mother. You've spent 9 months in the womb knowing all about her, knowing her thoughts and her feelings, and her sound, the way she sings, what she likes to eat. There's just such a deep wound. And if you remember in the Primal wound when we were reading, or if you haven't read that, I do mention this. The biological mother has, basically 9 months to prepare. Let's assume more like 3 to 6, because they're beginning, and usually in the last 3 months of a woman's pregnancy, or I shouldn't say necessarily a woman, but like a birthing person. Not every woman. Don't come at me. Look, I'm trying to be very well aware that not all people consider themselves a woman, right? And that's okay. If you're non-binary, or maybe you're a trans man, that they can have babies too. That's totally fine. So we're being inclusive here. The point is, they have 3 months at the end to really prepare themselves, not just financially and, in their environment, but also psychologically. They have already connected to this little infant, right, that's about to come out. Whereas with the adoptive parents, you don't get that time to prepare, not in that psychological connection, and it is a huge hindrance for both the adoptive parents as well as the child. That is why family preservation is best. When that is not possible, unfortunately, it does happen, not as much as you think it does, but it does happen. There are things like kinship guardianships and legal guardianships, which, again, don't prepare you in that way, but it doesn't legally erase your identities either. Anyway, continuing on. As an adoptive mother, you won't smell right to your newborn. You won't sound right or even look right. But you must take your child's reaction. You must not take your child's reaction personally. It is important to respond to rejection with rejection or withdrawal. Sorry, you should not respond with more rejection or withdrawal. Build up slowly to hugs. Let the baby become accustomed to your smell, movements, etc. Talk slowly and softly to your baby, remembering that they are hurting badly and need to feel safe and secure. They need soft, soothing sounds, motions, and touch. Give them time. If they push away, they are only reacting to the loss of their first mother. Sorry. Now, this is according to the Declaration of Rights of the Child put out by the United Nations and UNICEF. The child shall, wherever possible, grow up in the care and under the responsibility of their parents. A child of tender years shall not, save in exceptional circumstances, be separated from their mother. So yeah, the United Nations and UNICEF both recognize that should not be happening. And even then, they also recognize guardianships as the best thing possible if family preservation is not viable. All right. Your baby may cry a lot. If so, comfort them as much as they need to feel safe. Your baby may be relatively quiet. No matter what you face, no matter what face your baby presents to you, bear in mind that they have just had a severe loss. Adults who suffer a loss may react in many different ways on the surface, but that does not change the underlying sadness that accompanies the loss. You should assume your baby is distressed and give TLC whether or not it is obviously needed. Your baby knows that something is wrong, but they don't have any way to express it verbally. Your baby experienced the loss of their favorite things, and it may take time for them to feel secure. Be patient with them, always understanding, always calm, and always soothing. And I also want to mention this should continue into their life. Um, as they become verbal and as they, can begin to speak for themselves and recognize these feelings and all of that, be open, be honest, follow their lead. I know that's not always the best way to describe this, especially as infants, but, you know, definitely more so in their younger adolescence, young adults, elementary, middle, high school. As they are verbal, they can tell you way more. But it's a lifelong loss. It's a lifelong trauma, and it's not like, gosh, I hate to I hate to do the comparisons, but let's put it this way. Um, it's not like if you just lost your parent to a car accident or to a disease or something bad happened to them where they're gone forever, right? And I mean, like, they can no longer be found living. It's completely different because you get to grieve. You do get to grieve. Now, not everyone is going to move on quickly, and that's recognizable and it's very understanding. But when you're adopted and you say things like, so, best way to put it, okay, trying to describe this the best way, right? So if you were to say, hey, I lost my parent because of X, Y, or Z, right? So I lost my parent because of a car accident. People will recognize that loss and they will be understanding. But when you say you're adopted, they don't recognize that loss. And that is it's a huge problem for us because it is a loss. And they are usually, obviously not always the case, but they are usually out there somewhere. And even if they're not, there's someone biologically related, maybe your birth father, or maybe it's a grandmother or a sibling or cousins or other siblings to you, that are out there that can tell you about them. But we don't get to have that connection after the adoption. Well, and again, I say usually because open adoptions, 80% do close within the child's first year of life, and the next 20 tend, and I say tend specifically, to close within the next 4 years. Now, there are some families that are doing a really amazing job at keeping it open long term. They are actually co-parenting. It's not just like, hey, you're getting letters and pictures. Like, they're inviting family over. They're doing family vacations and birthdays and all those. And that is what, as much as I hate adoptions, if I need to see it, that is what I like to see. I like to see that there is a connection. Because it's vital for the child. It's being child focused. It's saying, I can put aside my jealousy and my feelings as an adoptive parent and do what is in the best interest of this child. And that is what is needed. And that also goes for the birth parent as well. They're recognizing that as well. Anyway, to summarize, your babies lost their favorite things in the world, and your baby lost their favorite things in the world when they lost their first mother. Your baby needs all the TLC that you can give them. Your baby may need a good amount of time and reassurance and soothing talk before they will be responsive to you as you would like. Your baby is hurting and cannot explain it to you. You need to understand this and make allowances for their pain. Alright guys, we are going to begin the exercise, so if you want to click off now, I completely understand. But if you're ready, we're going to dive right into this. I want you to try to imagine what it would feel like if you experienced a natural disaster, such as a tornado or a hurricane, and you survived, but all of your family didn't. All of your possessions were destroyed, except for the clothes on your back. What would that be like? How would you cope? What would you do? Your baby just survived a disaster or trauma of the highest order and only has her new mother. Everything else that they valued or knew is completely gone. I want you to write down your answers to the above exercise and keep that baby in mind as you write. If you guys want to pause, I completely understand, as you might be feeling very anxious right now, or angry, or perhaps highly discouraged. Please understand that this book is intended to educate, not discourage. The purpose of the writing is to help all involved in an adoption better understand what happens to the infant. It is the infant who is supposed to be the star of the event, meaning it is the infant that we are supposed to be focused on. It is all supposed to happen for their best interest, quote unquote. Yes, there will be much pain, but if you pay attention to what is written on those pages, the infant will be better taken care of, their needs fully met, and ultimately they will be happier. That does not mean they won't be traumatized. I just want to interject on that. The infant is what matters here. Adoption is not a panacea for anyone involved and certainly does not cure infertility or the loss of one's mother or a child. That doesn't mean that in those cases where there's no other choice that the baby cannot fare well. However, for the infant to fare as well as possible, the adults first have to be educated. That is all I ask. If you are a hopeful adoptive parent or an adoptive parent and you are here, or even a birth parent, you are here because you want the best for that child. And I should say, if you're here because of foster care, I agree too. I shouldn't be calling you guys out. Usually, or at least I haven't seen any foster parents coming to my page. So if you are, hi, welcome. I'm not excluding you guys. I just want to make it clear that even in the most successful adoptions, and I say that with pain, that like what is a successful adoption? But even when the adoptee grows up to be a successful adult, such as Steve Jobs or Simone Biles or Colin Kaepernick, just 3 examples, that there doesn't mean that there isn't traumatization. That it doesn't mean that they don't think back on these things and don't feel hurt because of it. You know, yes, you can go one way or another because of circumstances that happen to you, whether that's adoption or not. The point is that we have to be able to recognize this and work through it. And adoption is lifelong. It's a choice that the child did not get to make. Adults are making that choice for the child. And while I personally have my qualms about adoption, and I'm just letting you guys know I'm very anti-adoption for many reasons, there are other things in place, like guardianships, which don't negate the trauma, and I want to make that clear, but it doesn't erase identities. So, yeah, anyway, that is all we have today. Take a few minutes, continue writing, and tomorrow we are going to get into chapter 11.